Hey guys, welcome back to Carl's Mystery Tackle Box. Nick and Brandon here from NBEdits.
Today, Nick and I are out here on the water and we are going to be showing you guys some helpful tips to get you guys on top of some panfish early ice. We're up here in northern Wisconsin. We're going to be putting some Mystery Tackle Box baits to the test today and see if we can get into some giants.
Okay guys, so I'm going to be drilling some holes. This is actually the very first spot that we tried when we went in the open water season going for these bigger style crappies. Now the first spot that we found when we were open water fishing with my hummingbird was a spot that dropped off a little bit and it had some sort of structure. We're imagining it was probably a crib. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill and arrange probably like 10 to 15 holes just around this area. And we're gonna see if I can find that crib, and once we do, then we're gonna start fishing and hopefully get on top of these panfish. Okay, got about 15 holes drilled out. We should be right over that crib. The next step now is we're gonna be talking about what we're gonna be using today, and then we're gonna check all these holes to see if there's any fish in them.
All right, now that Nick's got a few holes drilled for us, I'm gonna go ahead and get everything set up. So the first thing that I saw here that we've got for baits is the old Blitz blade. Now this thing is really aggressive. There's a few really aggressive baits in here, and there's a few less aggressive, more subtle baits that are gonna be really good for us too. So the Blitz blade is gonna have a lot of attraction. They go ahead and say walleye, striper, bass are all really good to target with this bait. Now, another really aggressive bait that's in here is the lighted firefly. Take a look at the eyeball on this thing. It's super aggressive. It almost looks like a walleye eye or a giant perch eye, which is both really good to use while ice fishing. So that's going to be a really nice bait. We've also got a really aggressive glide bait here. This is the Tilly TL57 from Phantom. I think this thing is going to do excellent for really big crappies. And then we've got a Kender's tungsten jig. I've already got one of these all lined up on my rod here. This is basically a go-to when the fish are finicky, subtle. A jig and a plastic is the best way to start out, and if you do notice you have a really aggressive bait, then I would go ahead and upsize into one of those other baits that I just showed you guys. Now for a plastic, we've got a green minnow presentation, lime green. This one is from Northern Lights Plastics. This one here, it's infused with scent and UV. I think this is gonna work really good. It's a pretty big plastic, but I think it's gonna pair really well with this jig. So I'm gonna go ahead, get a plastic on, and we're gonna see if we can get into some fish. Now that I'm all tied up here, I've got that Kender's tungsten jig on with the Northern Lights plastic. I'm gonna go ahead here, and I'm gonna grab my Markham. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this down our first hole. We got all of our holes drilled out. Looks like we're in about 14 feet of water here. We've got a couple more that are going more shallow, and I'm not marking anything yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and check a couple of these other holes real quick. Doing a little hole hopping this morning. Honestly guys, it's the easiest way to target fish. Go ahead here, let's check out this one. This one's a little bit more shallow, about 12.5 feet here. So we lost about 1.5 feet, and we probably only walked 10-15 feet at most. So we're definitely on a gradual decline here. Let's go ahead and check the next one here. So we went from 14 to about 12.5. Oh God, look at all those fish. Holy cow. All right, so now we're in about 11. So it's dropping about a foot and a half every 10 feet or so, 15 feet that we're getting closer to shore. I'm gonna go ahead and drop this down because it looks like there's quite a few marks down there. Go ahead and drop that plastic down the hole. Let's see if we can get smacked. Just gonna gradually pick it up just a little bit. Got him. There we go. That was awesome. Came up and smacked it. Just a little guy. Check that out. First one on the plastic for the day. Beautiful colors to that tungsten jig. Orange and green colored. Smoked the plastic. Comes out just like that. It's the one nice thing about using plastics, guys, is you don't have to go through and re-tip almost every single fish. So just a little guy, a little crappie to start our morning out. A lot of those fish disappeared, so I'm gonna go ahead and get down there right away before I lose that school. Very important to get down there fast as possible, which is one of the really nice things about that tungsten jig. Gets down to bottom extremely fast. So I go ahead here, open up my bail, and I get to attract those fish right away again, rather than waiting for that jig to slowly fall down to bottom. I've got a couple other fish here. Oh, this one seems interested. Oh, he hit me. He hit me. Let's see if we can get him to go again here. Again, I'm just using something that's a little bit more subtle, so getting some of these smaller fish isn't exactly surprising. Now, this bait can hook up with some absolute giants. This bait it just basically represents a minnow presentation. But if I were to go ahead and put something a little bit more aggressive on, I could kind of weave through some of these smaller fish on here. I might not get quite as many bites, might not get quite as many numbers throughout my whole trip out here today, but there's a lot of marks down here, and if you can use an aggressive style bait and weave through the small ones, you can hook up with an absolute giant. Another thing that actually came in our mystery tackle box that is pretty cool is this guy right here. What this is it's a clip-on bright LED light. This clips on to the end of your rod right down here, and you can actually take these plastics that we've received that I've got on with my jig here, you can actually brighten up this plastic just by using this LED light. It clips onto the bottom of your rod, you take that light and you put the plastic up against it. When you drop that down the hole, this will actually glow a little bit underwater, which just gives it even more attractant for the fish to see. If you have fish in your area and you're worried about losing a school like I just did, you can go ahead, use this light, and then any fish that are going to be in these nearby holes, even if they're not at the one that you're at, they should come up to you and you should be able to get back on top of that school if you ever do lose it. So this is an absolute power move. This is a must-have.
So far today, Brandon and I have noticed that the fishing is extremely slow. Last night, we actually had a cold front move into the northern part of Wisconsin, which is really affecting these fish today. We are marking fish in pretty much every single hole that I drilled earlier today. It's just the matter of fact that they're not biting. Now, when you're having a cold front day and the fish are extremely biting really light, actually, that's when you do want to be using this plastic, like what Brandon was saying. This is definitely something you're going to want to be starting with because it's the smallest for one, and it's also the most subtle. It doesn't have a lot of action, which is going to be what you're going to want to be doing on a bite when it's super light, because chances are they're not going to be chasing it. But we did receive a bunch of bigger style, more aggressive baits in our mystery tackle box. Now, with the bite being really light, that doesn't mean that you can't use the other stuff in your mystery tackle box. Now, on my other rod here, I have that Tilly, that glide bait. Now, usually I wouldn't use this on a cold front day. You're not going to really get a whole lot of bites on a cold front day with this, but what it is good for on these really light bites is to get it down here, even if you're not marking fish, or if you are marking fish, get it down there, just rip it around a few times, because what this will do is even if they're not biting it, they will come in and it will attract them in. So it's not a bad tool to have right next to you while you're jigging with that smaller jig, because the fish will always be by the bait. It's just a matter of fact that they're not always going to be hitting it. So what I like to do with this bait and some of the other ones that we got is to just send it down, give it a few rips, get those fish in there, then pull it up. And that's when I would switch back to this and see, now that you got them into the area, if you can get them to bite something more subtle like this jig and plastic.
What we're going to do, since I've got a few minutes here, is basically just show you guys how to read a Markham, a Vexlar, a Hummingbird, anything of the such. Basically, all this does is it reads everything from the top of the ice down to the bottom. And like I can read this here, basically there's 3 different colors that show up on here. There's green, orange, and red, okay? Now, there's nothing all the way from the top. This reads at 0, 5, 10, 15, and it goes back to 0, which would be 20 feet. There's different settings. You can set it all different depths and everything. Basically, I'm going to take my bait down this hole and drop it down. And for anyone who's never used it before, I go ahead and I drop this down. Right down here shows 9 feet. I know that that is the bottom, and I can tell that it's actually a hard bottom because it's colored red. Red is a hard bottom. It means that the fish is close to you if you see it. If it's orange or green, it's going to be a softer bottom. You might be dealing with some weeds and stuff like that. I'm right now at about 7 feet, And right here, you can tell there's a line coming up. That's actually a fish already looking at my bait. That's how impressive these baits are. That's how great technology is now. You can actually see these fish that are coming off bottom that are interested in your baits. So just like that, it's really that simple. That fish came up on my screen. I know that I'm fishing near structure. That's what you guys want to do, is get out here, put these baits to the test, drill a few holes, find some structure, find some deep pockets, weed lines, stuff like that. That's where you're going to be finding these panfish, and that's exactly what you guys are going to want to be doing. Look at that. I already got another one on me. It just doesn't get any better than this, guys. Holy, okay, that was absolutely insane. I watched 3 fish come up at me. I'm making no ground on this fish, I don't think. Maybe I am. Holy God. Oh my God. I watched 3 fish come up at me. He just broke me. He came off. Dang it! Oh no! You gotta be kidding me! Oh God! He came off right at the hole. I never even got to see what it was. That had to have been a monster bass. Maybe I don't even know. I had 3 fish on me. Oh my goodness. 3 panfish on me, probably crappies or bluegills. They were interested. All of a sudden, boom, they all shot to bottom. I watched it all right on the electronics. And a big mark came up. I just, oh man, I just shaked it right in front of his face, and he came up and just smacked that plastic.
So guys, as you can tell, even the subtle finesse style baits are triggering the big ones to bite today.
I can't believe I just lost that fish. Oh God, I can't believe I just lost that fish. But I don't know, that happens, that's part of fishing. But that was really cool to actually watch multiple fanfish that were interested in that bait and then see them take off as a bigger predator fish came in. That's the one thing, guys, when you want to, you know, go out and hit the water, there's certain things you want to target, and that's where you're going to be fishing. You want to locate these key areas like we've done today. We've gone in a couple different spots here, but you want to find those weed edges. You want to find humps in the water column. You want to find deep structure, deep pockets. Those are the places where these panfish are going to be located. Bluegills, crappies, perch, that kind of stuff. And
even if they're not in any of those locations, last resort, guys, pretty much every lake has them. Go to the flats.
Yep.
Just go out into basically the middle of the lake. I know a lot of you probably has tried that, maybe haven't had success, but trust me, if you do it long enough, you get in an area, you're set up, these fish will come into the area and they will be in a school, and once you get on top of a school, you'll be all set and you will get on top of a ton of panfish. You just got to be a little bit patient sometimes.
Yep, sometimes you just got to be patient, but they will school up, and it just comes down to finding what they want, whether it's a more aggressive bait or a more subtle bait. Today was definitely a subtle bait kind of day, but the jig and plastic got it done. I almost caught a freaking giant.
Could have been his PV.
Awesome. Could have been my PV. I never got a good look at it, but honestly, that was a monster bass.
That's another really good thing about Mystery Tackle Box, guys, is the fact that you can get an assortment. Now, when you go to the store, everybody's got their go-to lures. You know, like when we hit the store and we're looking for stuff that we want, we usually go with the jigs and plastics. You know, everybody's got that one thing that really gets it done for you. But the nice thing is with Mr. Tackle Box is you don't know what you're getting, so you will be surprised, because we've had it a lot of the times where we have hit the water using our Mr. Tackle Box either on our channel or for Mr. Tackle Box, where it's like, wow, we've never used that lure, not sure if it's going to work, and then you put it to the test and it actually catches an absolute giant. He's caught his biggest crappie in our last video with the open water.
Yep,
that was on a Mr. Tackle Box, something that he's never used, and he's also caught his biggest bass on Mr. Tackle Box.
Yep.
So anything's possible. Don't be scared to try new things. Don't be scared, you know, if it's something that you've never used, because you never know what's going to be under the ice or on the other side of the boat.
You find new techniques and new technology, you know, like that LED light is pretty awesome. I mean, it's worked for us today. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, guys. We're gonna get packing up here. We've got a long trip back. We are all the way up here in northern Wisconsin, but it's been a lot of fun. So thanks for joining us today on Carl's Mystery Tackle Box here with NBEdits. I'm so mad still that I lost that fish, but thanks for joining us, guys. Again, stay tuned. Carl's Mystery Tackle Box has a lot of really good stuff coming, and you guys aren't going to want to miss out on everything that's everything that comes in tail. I mean, there's a lot of new technology out there, guys. You don't want to miss out on it, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Stay tuned for more videos. Again, thanks for joining us, Nick and Brandon from NBEdits. Tight lines, happy fishing. Boom!